Hi, how are things? I'm Alan Noonan, and you're very welcome to Effect TV's Your Call. I'm joined by Chris Bennett, here to my right, and Colm Hornibrook, who is a member of UCC's Fianna Fail Club. Come on, I suppose. And we're here to talk about young people in politics today, and also later on in the show, the future of Fianna Fail in Ireland. So, I might as well start off with yourself, Colm. Yeah. What do you think is the state of young people? Are they engaged in politics to a sufficient extent?
To a certain extent, young people are interested in politics. Now, not to in an over-exaggerated sense, but, you know, the media come out and say that young people don't care. 70.2% of people aged 18 to 25 are registered to vote. 18 to 21-year-olds, that's 64%. The real problem is people and politicians, young people and politicians are playing on on different levels altogether. 20%.
In what way do you mean by that?
20%, only 20%. Like, the registered voters is high, but only 20% have ever said they've gone to a TD or a local councillor or an MEP or whatever you want.
So it's not that like direct sort of engagement.
It's not, yeah. And if you had more of that, then more people would get more involved in politics.
Whose responsibility is that? Is that the responsibility of the local representatives to reach out to the people, or is it the part of the people to reach out to the local representatives? I mean, like, do they just see them as people to fix the pothole in the road and that's about it, or?
They do to a certain extent. Politics is about a lot more than that, really. You know, you fix the potholes, but you also, you know, you set the education, the welfare standards for the country. As local representatives, these people should be in conversation with their the local residents, people who are going to vote for them. And young people aged between 18 and 25, as I said, 70.2% are registered. Their voice is being heard by these by local representatives and TDs.
And what about your friends now, for example, inside in UCC, or even you're from Mayfield yourself? What about outside in Mayfield? Are people interested in politics at all? Do they kind of brush it off? I mean, like, people inside in the pubs are all the time talking about politics. So
I'd say, like, in UCC, my course, I'm doing government and public policy. So my course, obviously, everybody involved in that course is interested in politics. Me and my own friends personally, you know, the lads really, they're not into it. It's not their cup of tea. And, you know, that's grand, it's not everybody's. But they should be more of an effort to get people interested in it.
Do you think it's an effort, I suppose, that is going to come from, you know, I know you've said it's, you know, from the TDs and the councillors and the like to reach out. Actually, do you think it's kind of an effort that needs to come from people like yourself, the young people who are on that level already and who are really engaged in politics? Is it your sort of role, I suppose, to actually go out and... I know you said earlier to us that, you know, you badger your friends in the pub and you're chatting to them, and every now and again they take a little bit in.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you know, the recession had a big effect on people and politics. The people, the electorate...
In what way, with regards...
They just said, they kind of got fed up with it, to be honest. And they have just kind of moved on and don't want to be involved in politics because, you know, it's one as bad as the other kind of an idea.
A sense of disillusionment.
A sense of disillusionment, exactly.
Do you think that sense of disillusionment is something that can be repaired? Is it a short-term fix, or is it a long-term problem?
It's a long-term problem, but, you know, as I was saying to you earlier on, you know, politics is it's about more than just fixing the pothole. If you don't want to do what's hard, don't get involved. Don't get in the game. Like, politics is about people trying to find something in another person and making the common good, if that's an even idea, making that an actual reality for people.
I suppose the difficulty there for some people, though, is that's all well and good, and I think I agree with you in a sense that, you know, politics does need to go back to that level of people talking to people type of thing. I think a lot of people tend to get let down, though, when, you know, they've gone to their politicians, they've talked to them, they've put their ideas across, and then the politicians have, let's say, not say betrayed them, but certainly some of the promises that were given have been broken.
And is it right of people then to sort of vent their anger towards those politicians? I mean, you said that people who go into politics kind of have to deal with it. And yet we've seen this sort of recent rise, partly because of the suicide of a recent representative we're not going to name, but the idea that politicians in Ireland are almost put upon, that they're subjected to too much vitriol from people. Do you think that that's a fair comment to make?
Yeah, they are. You know, you have to realise they're trying to do their jobs. You know, they are.
But equally, Colm, like, isn't it a job that they themselves have taken on themselves?
I was coming to that. You know, you have to stand up and be counted. And to go back to what you were saying earlier, the good thing is we live in a democratic country where if somebody doesn't do what you asked of them, in 4 years' time, you don't vote for them again. Yeah. That is how you do it. And, you know, if you are pissed off with politicians, go out and say something about it. Don't moan at home because your politician isn't representing you. Go out and, I don't know, whatever, run for local council, whatever. You have if people take more of an active role in politics, this idea of young people not getting involved will kind of deplete. And same with, that's start from the older people, for, you know, parents talking to young people about politics. I know, you know, everyone isn't as interested in it as I am, but
I suppose what you're saying really is it's very easy to criticise from the outside, exactly. But when you're actually the person who's putting yourself on the line and making the tough calls, it's a different matter altogether. Can
I actually ask you a direct question, Colm? So, for example, if you were inside in the voting booth and as a member of Fianna Fáil, you saw that some local Fianna Fáil, your Fianna Fáil representative hadn't represented you, or you felt that you hadn't, would you vote for somebody in Fine Gael, Labour, Sinn Féin, Independents?
I'm a member of Fianna Fáil, but I don't vote for my party. Well, I vote for my party, but I don't vote because they're what I believe or what I want to vote for. I vote for the guy I think will do the best job, and that's what I voted for whenever I vote. Now I've only voted twice, but I voted for what I thought was right both times.
Do you actually think that this is, because we had a show on last night with a couple of other young sort of political people, and it seemed to me, and speaking to yourself now, that it's coming out that more of the young people who are talking about politics, who are discussing politics, have this sense now that they will stand up for what they believe in, that they will question the party that they may be representing or they may belong to, a lot more than, say, 20 years ago, where it was very much the party line.
Yeah. There has been a movement to try and get rid of this idea of a whip system, and you know, if you're in the Dáil or whatever, and you get hit by the government whip, that's grand. I don't feel that I'm not elected representative yet, but
it's a call out to everyone.
Yeah, but that I feel a whip from Dublin for Fianna Fáil for voting just because I'm a member. Now I think I agree with most of the Fianna Fáil members. Personally, in my local area, people like Tim Brosnan, what's his name, Billy Keller, especially. He, I got my first foot in the door in politics because of Billy, and I'd vote for them because I think they're the best people who can represent what I want. And if I thought not, I'd certainly rethink of it.
So, Colm, do you think that Fianna Fáil, as a young member of Fianna Fáil, you were obviously there at the point of transition, you joined at the point of transition when the last election, I suppose. Do you think that Fianna Fáil is a reformed organisation?
Yes, 100%.
In what ways do you?
I think Fianna Fáil, when I first got into it, I went, right, how will they deal with this? They said the best line, one of the best lines I've heard in my life, be part of the comeback. I asked myself, do I want to be part of the comeback, or do I want to just, jump in the bandwagon?
I suppose it's an exciting time, to get into it. I had a lot of friends back in the UK who jumped on with the Scottish National Party right at the base before the gains, before that, and it was an incredibly interesting, quite diverse time. And I suppose certainly for a young person wanting to get into politics, in terms of your own party, that actually might be a very exciting place to be. A feeling that you can change something.
Yeah, that's certainly. I completely agree with you there, Chris.
So, Colm, you're stuck in a situation where the party is saying that it is reformed, and yet there was a news story there the other day that a man called George Foley brought to my attention. It was the idea that Frank Fahey wants to make a comeback into politics. John O'Donoghue was also rumoured to be proposed as another person that's going to go forward and put forward his name in the nomination in the next election. Now, setting aside the fact that Frank Fahey has 3 different pensions, a TD pension, a ministerial pension and a teacher's pension. How can Fianna Fáil claim to have been reformed or changed, since the people that are looking at the party are seeing the same people who were within the party when it made its mistakes, and the leader of the party was also a member of the last ministerial cabinet?
Frank Fahey, now he was probably before my time when I got into it. He's put his name forward. He hasn't got the nomination yet.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look within the party at the RDS if that comes up, and if I meet him and I listen to him and I like him, I'll put his name forward. The 3 pensions thing, yeah, you know, it's such a. It's another big reason why why people are getting fed up with politicians, because, you know, and it's not just Fianna Fáil have done it. Fine Gael have done it. Labour have done it. Sinn Féin have done it. Every political party have done it. People who just hold on to these pensions. Now, personally, from my view, when I decided I wanted to get into politics, I was about 8. I was just after giving up the fact that I'm not going to play for Manchester United. I never wanted to get into politics for money. I wanted to get in because maybe someday I can actually get to an office and hopefully change something for the better. And that, to me personally, this might sound very sentimental, but that's better than $4 million or whatever the crack.
A man who wants to put service back into civil service.
Exactly.
Huh? Well,
exactly.
let me put it to you like this. So can we actually get this on recording in case you do end up in politics later on in life?
Yes.
You would be against multiple pensions for ministers and TDs, representatives?
Yeah.
Very good. We have the
It's on record. Just to sort of clip in here, if anybody's watching, you know, if people are watching the show and we want to ask some questions, please send it in to Twitter or Facebook. Drop us your questions. We'll put them across. I actually wondered, 2/3 of people in a survey that came out last weekend are saying that they don't believe the current coalition, as it stands, will last sort of, I suppose, the entirety of its term. In terms of that potentially happening, where do you see Fianna Fáil coming in around a sort of a making of potentially a new coalition or some form of new government system?
You know, you have to. If you're following the polls at the moment, Fianna Fáil are back up to 21%, second biggest party. I think people are getting disillusioned with Fine Gael and Labour slightly, because, you know, Fine Gael and Labour, they got elected because, you know, obviously what happened with Fianna Fáil and the depletion and now they'll come back, but I don't think people are moving away from them because they aren't, because they lost the fight, basically. It's because they didn't get involved in the fight. I think Fianna Fáil would. I think Micheál Martin is a great leader. He hopefully will be the next Taoiseach, and I think he'll get involved in the fight.
Do you think that, honestly, like, I don't think, now myself, my own personal, I don't think that the vast majority of Irish people are probably going to forgive Fianna Fáil for what happened during the recession. I think that there's a large swath of the population who are kind of floating at the moment, who won't vote for Sinn Féin, who realise that Labour are held hostage by the trade unions, and who are disgusted by the way that Fine Gael are reneging on every promise that they've made. So I think that there's this floating block of voters. What do you think that Fianna Fáil can do to portray this sense that they are reinventing themselves? I mean, like, for example, you're a young fella involved in the party. Why are there not more young people at higher levels of the party? It still feels like the skeletal hand of the older members are kind of grasping onto it. And this, I think, is true of Labour, Fine Gael as well.
Well, the Ogre in Fianna Fáil is very strong at the moment. We hold our NYC on the 22nd and 23rd in Sligo, February, sorry. And there's for the officerships in the party, there's going to be great battles won and lost. I have never gone to an NYC. I'm only in first year in college. I've recently joined the party, and you know, like, I'm going to go up and see what it's like. I'm going to go up and see, and if you want, cameras should be at that. How many young people actually care about politics? Come up to the NYC and have a look. Because there are young people, and that goes for Fine Gael and goes for Labour and it goes for Sinn Féin. Young people do care a lot more about politics.
I suppose that what we're asking though is the caring is there, the passion is there. Yeah. We can clearly see that. But are the people at the top going to, I suppose, relinquish their positions to allow for a new generation to come in?
Exactly.
Well, they could relinquish, but we can go and get it. Why can't we stand up? Well, not me currently.
Some form of Fine Gael coup is going to happen. You've heard it here first.
No, but yeah, like, you know, if somebody thinks that he can do a better job in any way, shape or form, why doesn't he go and do it?
Dare I say?
Now, yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. Go on, Colm, finish that thought. I'll come in after.
That's not going against, I think, you know, the seniority in the party at the moment. Under the leadership of Micheál Martin is bringing the party into in the right direction. But you know, if there was some young fella, not 19, like, I'm not going to do it. But somebody 30, 35 and feels that he could actually go and do it.
It's almost though, when you say you're only 19,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. Why not? Because why not get in there and actually say, you know what, I've got the same views as a lot of people out there. I can put them across perfectly as well as say Enda Kenny, for instance. You know, you can get out there and do it.
And actually, dare I add to that, Chris, that part of the problem with the people who are within the political system at the moment, the grey heads, are so trapped in their own bubble that they have no idea what the rest of Ireland is like, what any other experience is like. I think that it's to the detriment of Irish politics that younger people aren't being represented.
Yeah. That disconnect between the 70-year-olds and the 19-year-olds, you know, represented like yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly. So I wouldn't actually be afraid of voting for a young person because of inexperience. I think a bit of inexperience in the Dáil is exactly what we need, because the experience that we have there hasn't counted for anything.
What we need is a few more Mr. Smith goes to Washington type of things.
Yeah, not a bad idea at all. Going back to Micheál Martin as a great leader, so his greatest achievement so far in politics has probably been the smoking ban. Yet, when he was also Minister of Health, he was responsible for the establishment of the HSE, which has led to millions, possibly even billions of dollars being wasted on creating a whole new level of bureaucracy that has gone to waste because they're trying to wrap it up now. So how can he claim to be an effective manager when, in fact, when he had the chance as Minister for Health, which I probably admit is a poison chalice with Bertie Ahern, from Bertie Ahern, how can he portray himself as a
First
minister?
of all, he didn't waste millions and billions of dollars on it. He wasted millions and billions of pounds on it. Second of all, he it's, you know, the health system in Ireland, it needs a total overhaul in general, and that's going back years. Because when the nuns used to run the hospitals, and when they stopped, it just fell. Sure, you know, you say that about Micheál Martin, and you know,
Is 12 years in government not long enough to reform health?
We put more. I feel anyway, we put more effort into education. Now, health is very, very important. Health wouldn't be my strong point. I more into education, to be honest. Obviously, and that could be a reason why. Hey, that could be a reason why I'm not running in 2 years' time. But
maybe not for the
maybe
not for the health minister.
And no, that's you know, and that's what hopefully you're going to learn over time.
In that case, if your specialisation is education, then you know where do you see your party going forward with education, and do you think that they did enough whilst in power to?
Yes, you know, if you look at the facts there, there's under the 1997 government to 2011, and the numbers of NSAs tripled. Teacher ratios went from 1 to 24 down to 1 to 16. Teachers got paid slightly more. I'm not too sure about that, but you know, we invested in education. What I feel about education personally is I think it's a silver bullet. You know, you educate the people more, so then you have a stronger labour force, which is in Ireland is basically like our army. So you know, this thing about in politics, you have your currency and your army are your main two. We have our currency, the euro, and we have our labour force, our army, to go and take over the world with. You know?
But then the problem with that is that the money is not flowing back to Ireland. The money from the brain drain of people going to elsewhere is going into those countries that they then settle in.
Yeah, but if there was more jobs available here, they'd stay here. That's the simple answer.
But does that mean that, the reason that jobs are going because Dell can open up a plant in Poland at half the cost that it had its plant in Limerick running, so is the part of the problem is that we're overpricing ourselves out of the market, out of the labour market? And then how do you justify that to Irish workers who are after spending so long in education to try and...
Well, you make Ireland more... gettable. You make not gettable. You make it more so people will come here.
More attractive, yeah.
Make it more attractive. I couldn't think of it. I blanked on attractive.
I like
That's okay. We don't want to badger you either.
I can't believe I blanked on I blanked on it again. But anyway, back to the talking. Poland. Okay, the costs are going to be lower. You're going to pay people less, but you're going to get a better job done in Ireland if you have more money or if you have a better labour force. You're going to have crime drop because people are more educated and they want to get a job instead of going out and doing whatever people do when they're doing crimes.
I suppose in terms of,
Like George
Fianna Fáil then, in promoting this use of the educated, workforce, as you're saying, in terms of your party, are they going to put, positions in place where the focus is not so much on, let's say farming, manufacturing, that kind of thing, but more on the creative industries, bringing in dare I say, an Irish Apple type of thing, using that knowledge?
Well, obviously, agriculture and manufacturing, you can't get rid of them. They're very important, especially agriculture. It's a very important economy within our economy.
But then I suppose the problem with that is that, there's, how many young people are then going into agriculture now? Is it an ageing type of industry?
I still think that there's people coming to take the job, or taking becoming farmers after the group that there are now, and that's happened in Ireland for years upon years, and it'll keep on happening into the next century and the century after that.
What you're seeing is a consolidation of the smaller farm holdings into larger units, so that they become a bit more sustainable. Now, unfortunately, that does mean that you have people dropping out of the farming sector, but it was somewhat inevitable, really, considering where we came from traditionally. But I want to return back to education there. We have Micheál Martin, not to pick on the poor man, since he's not here to defend himself, although we do have an excellent representative in the form of Colm Hornibrook.
Yeah, and he's more than welcome anytime he wants to come on.
Yes, exactly. So this is a man who was a teacher in secondary school, out near yourself. Was he out in Mayfield, was it? I'm not sure. He's somewhere in Cork anyway. Douglas, was he? Yeah. Apologies. And so he left teaching, went into politics, but he has a permanent teaching position whenever he wants to come back to it. Likewise, Enda Kenny. What is the thinking behind this? Are they basically taking two jobs with each other from people that should be working as permanent teachers, from young people?
Well, they're not working as permanent teachers now.
Oh no, that's exactly it. But there are jobs
so that job is gone to somebody else?
No, not permanently. It's being held. If they want to come back to teach at any point, they just say, I'm coming back to teach, that's it. The idea, I have the feeling that, why if you become an elected representative in Ireland, are your jobs held for you in the civil service as some sort of gainstay like that? Why would you be insulated from the real world, in fact?
Politics is it's a risky business.
It's not. That's exactly my point. It's that it's not. It's very safe for Micheál Martin.
It's very safe for Micheál Martin, but for other people, there's Micheál Martin, there's Enda Kenny, there's 164 other TDs there.
I suppose they're the cannon fodder. they can lose their jobs and be all right, kind of thing. Well, you know what you're saying, because you're saying that Micheál Martin and Enda Kenny are absolutely fine because, as you said, they can go back to their jobs. But you were saying there are plenty of other TDs out there who aren't. So it's okay for them to lose their jobs as long as Micheál Martin and Enda Kenny are fine.
You potentially lose your job every 4 years.
You don't think that they're well compensated for the risk inherent, the instability in the job, the dangers of being elected?
Well, yeah, they are, but
dare I say we could put the service back into it by making them earn the average industrial wage, which would be a big step below what they're earning at the moment, which is 80.
That would need first of all would need to go through committee, to go through Shannon and a referendum. And if it comes to that, it comes to that, and the Irish people vote on it at the end of the day.
But what are your own thoughts on it? Do you think that TDs are paid too much, or do you think that they're compensated adequately to the?
Maybe some TDs are paid too much, but then at the same time, they're they're representing you. They're representing you in other countries as well. So you don't want them to turn up in a pair of Fat Man pants and a Nike hat. You want them to turn up in a suit. You want them to turn up and look respectful and say, "Yeah, this is Ireland. We're Ireland. This is what we have."
I suppose the line would need to be drawn really between becoming a TD and that is your only job, and at 80,000 or whatever, that might be acceptable pay for that. But it's sort of becoming a TD and potentially having other things alongside it, another pension from another job, that kind of thing. As you were saying, going back into teaching, for instance, if none of that was there, I suspect and the TD was your only job, I suspect a lot of people would be not so, angry, shall we say, with the larger pay packets.
That's a big question. The talk of pensions for ministers and TDs and for presidents and whatever, that's been on the table for a long time. and it's going to be addressed sooner rather than later.
I suppose
And,
it has to be.
Yeah, it has to
Well,
be.
wasn't that part of the reason the Fine Gael were elected to try and, like, they promised lower the number of TDs, possibly abolish the Seanad? We haven't seen any action yet on that so far.
There's going to be a referendum in November.
Oh, fingers crossed. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, I'd like to thank my other panellists here, Chris Bennett and also Colm Hornibrook tonight for the show. If you have any interesting points that you'd like to make, please Twitter us on the Twitter machine, and we look forward to seeing you next week on another show of Your Call. Thank you very much.